Hi, thank you for dropping by to check out this little film about Whitby. It's been a little while since I vlogged, but I decided to give myself a second season. Whitby, if you're not familiar with the place, is a seaside town in North Yorkshire, England. It's up on the northeast coast and has a long and fascinating history. Dracula landed on the shores of Whitby in a fierce storm. Bram Stoker drew much inspiration for his famous horror novel while staying in Whitby. And Captain Cook was a local lad. At one time the town could boast having the busiest fishing fleet. Those good times have gone, of course, but it is still a commercial fishing port. This vlog is about my recent day trip to Whitby in August 2021. I'm hoping to give you some handy tips and pointers to help you plan your trip to Whitby. So enjoy this little film, and I encourage you to discover for yourself the family-friendly, quintessentially English seaside town of Whitby. So I've arrived at Whitby Abbey car park. I've just sat in the car and paid for parking, which was £9 using the Ringo app. There are pay machines here as well, so you can pay cash. So unless anything's changed, if you do pay cash and you've got a physical ticket, then you can use those tickets to transfer to other long stay car parks along the coast here. Possibly you can do the same with the app payment, but I've not seen any information to confirm that, so best to check for yourself. Whitby Abbey car park, by the way, is the best and only car park if you're visiting Whitby Abbey. There are plenty of other car parks in Whitby, but you do face things such as the 199 steps that you'll have to traverse from the other side of town. But the other main reason, really, why I drive to Whitby Abbey car park is after a long drive, it has toilets. Bear in mind it is 40p to go and have a pee, so just make sure you've got some change with you. About to enter the Abbey grounds. I prepaid for my visit to Whitby Abbey online. Apparently that's the cheapest way of doing it. Picked up a guidebook, that's probably always worth doing. So far, a lot of this is quite wheelchair friendly, which is really good. So the lady at the desk advised taking the right hand path, which takes you past the pond and gives you some great views. So I shall do that. So we're heading that way. So that's a car park where we've just come from. So I'm within the grounds of Whitby Abbey now. So you do have to pay a fee to get in. And I paid online, and I think that was £11. There are deals for seniors. And you can also join English Heritage, which will get you into these places for, well, I say free. You've obviously paid your membership, but then you can get admittance, and there are family discounts as well. You've got this lake here that can create some beautiful photographs. It makes a lovely foreground. Looks like there are some birds swooping in low over that. They look like swifts. And the great thing with the Abbey is that at certain times of year you can get a wonderful sunset behind it. As you can see, it is a really popular site. It is the main attraction in Whitby, although there are plenty of other things to do. I definitely advise anybody coming to Whitby to pay a visit to Whitby Abbey. You can see exactly why Bram Stoker drew inspiration for Dracula from here. Around Halloween every year, and coinciding usually with the Whitby Goth Festival, they have the Illuminated Abbey event, which is something I really recommend that you come along to. Just looks absolutely fantastic. Imagine all of that lit up at night. It looks absolutely fantastic. That's the Church of St Mary, just over there. We'll be visiting there after this, and you'll get some pretty decent views of the sea from within the grounds. So we arrived here today in the car park, came in through the entrance here. I took the advice and went right and past the pond, and then I looped around here. That's more or less where that little grave was, and then that's all the columns. You can walk within all the columns. I went out into the grounds there. That's where I was looking at the views across the coast. Came back through. We are here. And now we're about to go into the shop and the exhibition and the exit. Fascinating exhibition. Always got to have a visit to the gift shop, haven't you? Lots of Dracula themed items, of course, lots of Gothic influence. When you come out to the Abbey grounds exit building slash shop slash exhibition, there is a handy cafe nearby. Let's follow these people to the cafe. Okay, the cafe is closed. It's a fairly common occurrence these days with staff being off, isolating and whatever. The Church of St Mary is the next location. That was Whitby Abbey ruins and grounds. We're heading over that way, and the next stop is the Church of St Mary, which is just over that wall. Some of the gravestones within this graveyard inspired Bram Stoker for some of the names in his famous book Dracula. Many of the gravestones are so old and so weather-worn that it's not possible at all to tell what names were engraved on here. Here's just one example of a gravestone that is legible. That dates from 1785, which gives you an idea of how old the graves are in this graveyard. If you look at how higgledy-piggledy they all are, they have been here several centuries. But they have great views of the sea for their final resting place. Great views of the harbour from the graveyard of the Church of St Mary. It's actually not particularly windy here for a change. It's nearly always windy when I come, especially on the exposed headland here. It looks like they're dredging the entrance to the harbour there as well. So the two piers, the one on the left hand side of the screen is the West Pier, and the one on the right hand side of the screen is the East Pier. There's the harbour. There's the Church of St Mary and the graveyard. And then the Abbey, of course. So there are quite a few really interesting things to see within a very short space of each other. Going into the interior of the Church of St Mary. That was the interior of the Church of St Mary. There is no entry fee to get in, although donations are always warmly received. So I'm heading towards the centre of Whitby town now. Just a little stopping point on the way, and this is Caedmon's Cross. Caedmon's Cross, it's within the grounds of the Church of St Mary. It's a late Victorian monument dedicated to the 7th century poet Caedmon. After the Abbey, after the Church of St Mary, after Caedmon's Cross, you face the 199 steps. And yes, there really are 199 steps. Have a go at counting them. And these will take you down into the main town. Every so often on these steps you'll get a little plaque that gives you the number of steps in Roman numerals. And every so often there is a bench if you need a bit of a rest. Some of the best views of Whitby can be had from the 199 steps. And some of the iconic photographs that you've seen will no doubt, some of them will have been taken from here. Come here as night draws near and you can capture one of those iconic photographs with the lamppost in shot. There we are at the bottom of the 199 steps. They're quite steep. I'm pretty starving, so I might go in search of food and come back here. Nice to finally sit down and have some lunch. I think the scampi looks tempting. Here I am back at the bottom of the 199 steps. Just had lunch, really needed lunch. I was starting to get quite peckish. Anyway, you ready for the next part of today's journey? So at the bottom of the 199 steps, my usual routine is to get to the bottom of the steps and then turn right and go this way. Onto Henrietta Street. Very narrow street. You see there are no cars parked along here. Okay, right here at this point I'm just starting to get a whiff of the smoke coming from Fortune's Kippers, the world famous kipper shop. Have a quick peek inside.
Oh yeah, that'll be a nice bit.
Great views. West Pier on the left, East Pier on the right, plenty of people on the piers. I'm going to head down that way. If you continue along Henrietta Street, you get to a ramp that takes you down onto the West Pier. Look up there, that's the headland. That's where I was looking out to sea from the grounds of St Mary's graveyard. And then we head down this ramp onto the West Pier. This is very steep. You don't want to be in a wheelchair or pushing a pushchair on this. At the bottom of that steep ramp, and the tide is out, so it's revealed obviously the beach, but there's also that causeway going out there, and I've just been speaking to a lady who says she's found some fossils and pointed me to where to go. Out on the rocky beach here. Behind me you've got the cliffs. It's a particularly low tide today. I don't think I've ever been here on this section of the beach and seen the sea so far out. So it's really great to get out onto the rocks and hopefully find some fossils. It's a really still day, which is nice, because quite often when I come to the coast it always seems to be windy. Oh cool, a jellyfish. Okay, so no fossils so far. Maybe I'm not looking in the right areas of the beach. What on earth is this? It looks like some kind of secret hatch. It's like an episode of Lost or something like that. What on earth is that, and where does that lead to? There are a few imprints of ammonites. The bedrock here is shale. Quite a few faint outlines that have been kind of filled in with the sand. Here's a nice sharp little one, if you can see that one. Quite a few in this little area. Okay, so this little area I'm in is a bedrock of shale, and I'm seeing lots of faint outlines of ammonites that have possibly been extracted previously, but you can definitely see the outline of them. I've not mentioned one of my favourite navigation apps so far, What 3 Words. So the What 3 Words location that I'm standing in right now is Contracts Afraid Troll. It shows that I'm in the middle of the North Sea at the minute, but that's probably because when they mapped it the sea was in, I'm guessing. As I say, always take care to check the tide times, but this looks like a reasonable little spot to come and find some fossils. So fossil hunting is really popular along this stretch of the coast here. Oh, here's an ammonite. See the ridges? The texture of this rock is wonderful. You've got very thin layers of shale. So this rock face behind me, I've heard quite a few rock falls in the last few minutes. I've come quite some way now from the piers. Wow, a shipwreck. I didn't know this was here. So time to start making my way back. I've come quite some distance. The tide is definitely coming in at quite a decent pace. So this chap here is chiselling out what looks like an ammonite, is it?
Yeah, ammonite, yeah. Oh, yes.
Oh, wow. Not so long ago, I was just out there, more or less. So my feet are absolutely wet through stepping accidentally in rock pools. So part of me thinks, well, it's just like when you're a kid and it's all just fun, and part of me thinks, ew, I'm probably going to die of trench foot now. Okay, on the East Pier. I think I may have said West Pier at certain points earlier. If I did, I definitely meant East Pier. That's where I've just been on the beach, walking on the beach and fossil hunting. That's the ramp that I came down. That ramp takes you down to a little beach. And there are some little fossil impressions. Somehow I doubt these are authentic, seeing as they're set in concrete, but these are quite fun. So I'm going to have a little walk out onto the East Pier. I don't think I've ever been across that bridge thing. Now it's worth coming out here onto the East Pier for the views back on town. I mean, look at that. There's the Summer Queen pleasure boat. Well, I'm at the end of the East Pier now. It does project quite a way out. There's the town behind me. There's some people fishing on the end of the West Pier. So like on the West Pier, you can go down the steps onto the lower level. I'm going to start heading back towards Whitby town now. The causeway now completely covered by the incoming tide, and I shall be heading back up the ramp. You can get across that beach there, by the way. If you go across that beach and then you're onto that kind of wharf over there, that will take you ultimately back onto the streets, back onto Henrietta Street, back at Fortune's Kippers, just up there. That's St Mary's Church, just to give you an idea of how close everything is together. Obviously you've got to come down the 199 steps and round a little bit. I'm back at the bottom of the 199 steps. It's really busy now. It's warming up quite a bit, and now I'm going to be heading down this street. Busy streets full of jewellery shops, a few pubs, traditional sweet shops, grab an ice cream. It's an ever popular tourist destination. Arguments Yard. You always see people having the photograph taken here. This is the marina area of Whitby. Just over there is the Captain Cook Memorial Museum. That whole kind of street down there is quite interesting. There's a great fossil shop down there and kind of art shops and those kind of things. In this area nearby there's a few eateries. You've got an Indian restaurant nearby, fish and chips. There's a pie and mash shop just up there. Grape Lane, this is where the Captain Cook Museum is. So that's the fossil shop that I mentioned. When we get to the other end of Grape Lane, then we are pretty much at the swing bridge, which takes us across to the west side of town. There we go, that's the marina. And on the other side of the bridge, that's the way out to sea. Go over the swing bridge, take a left into the marina, which is always ever popular. Incredibly popular with kids crabbing at the minute. It looks like a good spot to bring your crab line. Pirate ship cruises. So remember, Whitby is a working commercial fishing port, as well as being a popular tourist destination. It's a good spot, by all accounts, to go out and do a spot of sea fishing if that's your thing. Some pubs down this end of town. Whitby train station is very conveniently nearby. Handy car park for the west side of town. Endeavour Wharf car park, I believe. So from here you can access pretty much all of the west side of town, and if you go over the swing bridge onto the east side. So if you're a little bit infirm, with things being a bit flatter here, this might be a better choice for you than where I first started this morning, which was Whitby Abbey car park, because then you face the 199 steps, of course. So it's a working commercial fishing port. Okay, I'm leaving the marina area now, heading back towards the sea, back past the swing bridge. So there's a swing bridge. We're on the west side of town now. That way takes you down towards the sea. In fact, you can probably see the lighthouses on the piers there. A few shops along here, the odd pub here or there. A little bit further down is the Dracula experience. It's turning out quite nice now. There's the piers. Pick up some pleasure boats from here. Certain times of year, I think it's around July, August time, you can actually get whale watching trips from Whitby. I don't know if they're still running during the pandemic situation, but there are minke whales that can be spotted off the coast of Whitby here. There's like another fishing charter boat coming in there. Whitby RNLI lifeboat station just over there. That's the orange boat. St Mary's Church up on the hill there. Summer Queen pleasure boat coming in. We saw her earlier. Beautiful evening for it. Quite still. I've been on one of those sea trips. Really enjoyed it. It's a real treat. Definitely recommend it. So you've got tour buses. You've got the bandstand. So it's nice this side of town. It is a bit more touristy, more kind of shops and arcades and eateries, fast food outlets. Okay, West Pier, and this is where you can get onto the beach. So this is a really nice beach. It's really good quality sand, really soft sand, and so understandably it's really busy and popular. And it's turning out to be an absolutely gorgeous evening. In the distance there is the town of Sands End, so called because the beach literally ends there and becomes cliffs. Okay, I'm returning back to the car now. My trench foot is getting really bad because my feet got soaked again on the west side of town. I was trying to get a nice wide-angle shot with the sea in the foreground, and then a wave came in and took me by surprise. Completely soaked my feet again, so they were just about drying out. I'm back in the car now. It's about 5 o'clock. It's been an absolutely gorgeous day. The sun came out for the last kind of 2 or 3 hours of the day that I've been here. It's always sad to leave Whitby. I never fail to have an enjoyable day here, regardless of the weather. I even like it when it's stormy. Before I head for home proper, what I might do is have a drive over to the west side of town and see if I can find a parking space, and maybe I can show you Captain Cook's statue and the whalebone arch and the view of the Abbey from the west side of town from high up. That's always really nice. That should finish the day nicely. Here we are on the west side of town, as I promised. I drop in here before setting off for home. It's the Captain Cook statue with the obligatory seagull sitting on his head, and in the distance you'll see the Church of St Mary and Whitby Abbey. Great views from up here on the west side of town. The whalebone arch. It makes a nice picture if you use it to frame Whitby Abbey and St Mary's Church. There's quite a lot more on the west side of Whitby. I just haven't had time to cover it all for you today, to be honest with you. I need a couple of days up here really. I probably need to book a B&B or something and have 2 or 3 days of just going at it. You've got the pavilion. If you go a bit further up, you've got the town of Sands End. That's really interesting. I'll cover that another time. There's some really good fossil hunting up in Sands End as well. That is Sands End over there in the distance. See the cliffs? That's part of the Cleveland Way walk. Well, I think that seems like the perfect place to finish this week's vlog, doesn't it? What a lovely day. I must return here again soon. Hope you enjoyed.